Welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Joann Starks from the American Institutes for Research, or AIR, and this is the first webcast in our four-part series introducing you to the KTER Center's research activities, resources, and training opportunities. This video focuses on how VR supervisors and managers can get involved in current research efforts. We'll share more details on that invitation in a moment, but first, before we begin, we'd like to recognize that this four-part webcast series is offered through the Center on Knowledge Translation for Employment Research, or KTER, and funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living, and Rehabilitation Research, or NIDLR. We also want you to know that we have information that accompanies today's webcast available on our website, including a PowerPoint file and a text description of the training material. Please remember that these materials are copyrighted and that they are provided to you for education and training purposes only. Today we are joined by my colleague Kathleen Murphy from AIR. Welcome, Kathleen. We're glad you're here.
Sure, Joann. I'm glad to be here today, too.
Okay, let me tell our viewers about you, Kathleen. I learned from your bio that you have been involved for over 2 decades on a variety of mixed methods applied research projects, and you've taught at several universities, including the University of Notre Dame and Baylor University. Since 2006, Kathleen has focused on knowledge translation in the disability research field, and she leads the KTER Center. Kathleen, thanks for taking time to talk to us today. To get us going, can you tell us what the point of this study is so that we can better understand why VR leaders should encourage their staff to participate?
Sure. So I want to begin first by saying that the KTER Center is grateful to the Council of State Administrators of Vocational Rehabilitation, or CSAVR as most of us know it, especially John Connolly and Kathy West Evans, who helped us develop this series and related work. I also want to recognize that there are many VR reps, consumers, and others involved in providing training and technical assistance to VR agencies with whom we work closely, and to thank them for their ongoing support and collaboration. So as you said in your introduction, I work in the area of knowledge translation, or KT. It's all about focusing on the impact that any research project can have on improving people's lives. At the KTER Center, we live and breathe KT because research funded by NIDLR can be used to help people with disabilities find and keep their jobs. This is in keeping also with how we try to make research relevant at AIR. There are 80 VR agencies across all the U.S. states and territories. They focus on employment for people with disabilities. So it made sense to us as the KTER Center, an employment research center, to study how the people who do the most work to make that happen, the VR agency staff, how they use research. So KTER's goal is to make sure that VR not only gets the research, but also understands how to use that research to improve employment outcomes for their clients.
So that makes sense and seems like a very important study. Can you talk next about how that study and others like it are part of your overall knowledge translation, or KT, strategy?
Sure. So the kind of questions we're asking in this VR study are the same types of questions that are asked all over the world by researchers who work in this field of KT science. Things like, how can we best help people to be truly aware of, understand, and actually use the latest research? Or another kind of question that's typical of KT science would be, what strategies work best to let them know about research, understand what it's all about, and be motivated to use it when making important decisions? Now, one answer that has come out of the KT science field is this idea of knowledge brokering. It's an approach that puts people in the role of acting as research liaisons. They bridge these worlds of research and practice.
What do you mean by calling someone a research liaison?
Well, basically, a research liaison is someone who has learned about research related to a particular topic or maybe a set of topics. this person has an active relationship with both researchers and practitioners in this particular field. And in our case, it's vocational rehabilitation, or VR. In our study, the research liaisons link the disability researcher and the VR staff by helping to find research, understand how to use it, and of course then actually apply it in practice. So let me share an example from work the KTER Center did in its previous funding cycle. We did a survey that included 535 VR counselors across 6 states. And in that study, we learned something we thought was really important, that VR counselors are most motivated to use research if they perceive that their supervisors or managers thought that was important.
So that's why you're inviting VR supervisors and managers to become research liaisons.
Well, exactly. So we want to extend the offer to VR supervisors and managers to take our free research liaison training so that they can learn how best to help us bridge the research world with their staff. We do think this will really help all of us to better help those in need of our help, people with disabilities who have unmet unemployment needs.
Well, can you tell us a little bit more about the training?
Sure. Overall, the training series is designed to help managers act in this role, but there are 2 separate topical tracks. One training track will focus on research on the employment of transition-aged youth, especially as related to the pre-employment training services, or pre-S, outlined in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, often called WIOA. The second track will be held on the topic of employing adults with autism, especially in building the communication skills of adults with autism.
Well, can you tell us, why did you select those 2 topics in particular?
Well, when we designed this project back in spring of 2015, this new piece of legislation at that time, WIOA, brand new, we knew that VR agencies would have an interest in the topic of transition-age youth, since that law sets a new requirement that VR agencies have to set aside 15% of their budget to serve this population. Also, in our role, we're supposed to promote the use of existing research findings. So we took inventory of all the NIDLR-funded projects. We found there were several research projects working in that transition area. Similarly, looking to see what is NIDLR already funded, our team and other NIDLR-funded researchers had identified research-based ways to support adults with autism in the workplace. So we thought, these are findings, they're available, and they would be useful to VR agency staff.
Well, that does sound like a great training series and a very interesting study. But given that people are so busy today, are you offering any kind of incentives for our viewers to participate in either or both of these studies?
Oh, absolutely. So first, staff supervisors and managers who participate in the research liaison trainings will be offered 5 CRC credit hours. We also hope that they and their staff will participate in our survey. Each person who completes the survey, it's about using research, they get a $20 gift card each time they do it, and we run it twice. Once at the beginning, before the training, and then when they're done with the training, which is going to be around 6 months after. We have a control group. Those are people that aren't involved in the research liaison training, but we will be asking them to do these 2 surveys. In addition to that, there are also additional benefits for VR supervisors or managers, again, depending on whether or not they're assigned to the training intervention group or the control group. The ones who are in the control group are going to get a voucher that allows them to participate in a class provided by the Commission on Rehabilitation Counselor Certification. It's called Wellness and Self-Care, and it does qualify as an ethics course. So that's how the control group members will get their 5 CRC credit hours. So when you put it all together, all the VR supervisors and managers involved in this study will earn, or have the opportunity to earn, 5 CRC credit hours, and they and their staff are all offered 2 $20 gift cards.
Well, those are some pretty good incentives.
Well, we thought so.
I just realized we haven't really talked about VR agency directors. How do these efforts support them in the states and help them to achieve their program outcome goals?
Well, at that level, the directors of state VR agencies that have staff participating, we will offer them a state-level report, assuming we do get enough responses from their staff to allow us to present the data anonymously. Also, one of the demographic questions collects data on whether respondents have their CRC. So we will offer to break out study outcomes to compare those who have their CRC and those who don't. And we will also work with state directors to make sure they have whatever resources they may need to make sharing the caseload data feasible.
Okay, are there any other benefits to this study?
Well, I'd like to think that we all benefit by working together. The whole premise of knowledge translation is that using research improves practice. So ultimately, we want to learn how best can we support VR staff to help their clients.
Sounds good. Can you explain a little bit more about who is eligible to sign up for the training?
Sure thing. As I mentioned, we're targeting VR staff or supervisors or managers. We recognize the title may vary from state to state. We're including VR supervisors and managers who supervise at least 4 VR counselors.
Okay, and what do you expect these people to do?
Well, we want them to learn a lot and let us learn from them over the course of about 6 months. So the first step is to get in touch with us and sign up for the study and let us know which topic interests them the most. After we get 40 people signed up for each topic, then we'll do the random assignment. 20 people will get the training, 20 people go into the control group. We'll do some control of that sorting to make sure that if more than one VR supervisor signs up from the same office, they'll get in the same type of group. So as part of that signing up, they'll take the baseline survey I mentioned. It lets us know if and how they're currently encouraging the use of research on the job. We'll then ask that all the managers and supervisors who sign up will help us to include their staff as respondents to that survey too. So that way, that's the only way we'll know if having a manager who's a research liaison affects the use of research among their staff.
Okay, so what will happen next?
After that, people who are assigned to the training will be given information about how to log on to the training at their individual convenience. It's an online platform available 24/7. And there are 2 online modules that everyone in the training group takes. The first training short, it focuses on how to communicate about research in a way that people can easily understand it and how to apply it to their work. The second training builds off the first training by providing actual research that VR supervisors can use to communicate with their staff about how to apply and use it to improve employment outcomes for their clients. So each of these models has a short pre and post test just so we can see are people learning in the immediate aftermath of taking these courses.
I think this sounds like a great effort all around, but I do wonder about sustainability and future knowledge sharing. Has the KTER Center thought about trying to help sustain and expand the study participants' knowledge?
Yes, thanks for asking. So after the formal training is done, the part we're really excited about begins. We are on call after those trainings at any time to help out, but KTER staff will check in monthly with all the study participants, make sure we don't lose touch of people, find out, have a sense of how things are going, because we want at the end of the study to know, is this a good model for VR agencies in general? So to be able to find out whether this approach is helpful, is it making sense to the people involved? Maybe VR counselors are coming in with questions for their supervisors about new issues related to their clients. So our staff will work to support the study participants in addressing those concerns using the best research available. That might look like doing a quick search of the literature to find an answer, or putting the participant in touch with one of the members of our advisory groups who are experts in these research areas, or they are VR reps, or some of them are consumers themselves.
Okay, so who are these other people KTER can put VR supervisors and managers in touch with?
Well, for the autism training, the advisors are Frank McCammett, who has experience with the Texas Council on Autism and Pervasive Disabilities, Carol Shaw, who's co-director of the Virginia Commonwealth University Autism Center for Excellence and director of the Virginia Autism Resource Center. We also have on hand Stephen Shore. He's been a leader in several consumer organizations. He's president emeritus of the Asperger's Association of New England. He's a current board member of Autism Speaks, the Autism Society, the Asperger Syndrome and High Functioning Autism Association, and the U.S. Autism and Asperger Association. And finally, it's rounding out our autism group is Dr. James Williams. He's a certified CRC who's also done research on autism and VR. So that's the autism group. The transition advisors include Dr. Teresa Grossi, who's on the advisory board for the National Post-Secondary Outcomes Center. She's also an external evaluator for the National Secondary Transition and Technical Assistance Center. Dr. Marcia Ellison is the Associate Director for Knowledge Translation for the Transitions Research and Training Center, which is a NIDLR-funded project. And our advisors also include those involved in VR. Ms. Sandra Miller is Transition Coordinator for Delaware VR, and Ms. Rachel Anderson joins us from the Workforce Innovation Technical Assistance Center, which most of you know as WinTech.
Okay, what's going to happen after that 6-month period of monthly check-ins?
So after these 6 monthly check-ins, we'll ask everyone who took that first survey about how and if you use research to do it again to see if anything has changed. We'll also be working with agency directors from the states who have participants involved in the study and ask them to share with us caseload data from 2 points in time, one from the quarter before we start the training and another one 12 months later. We'll analyze those data to see if consumers whose counselors were managed by the research liaisons experienced better employment outcomes.
And what will happen to the training resources once your study is over?
Well, we are NIDLR funded, so we will make the adults with autism and transition age youth resources available to the public free of charge. These resources will include the training as well as the research that VR agency staff found useful.
Okay, I guess the big question is, how can someone who's interested learn more about this study, or how can they sign up and participate?
If you want to go directly to our form, you can log on to https://tinyurl.com KTER study. That's https://tinyurl.com/KTERSTUDY. You got that? So if that's too complicated, just email us at kter@air.org, and we'll provide you with more information.
Well, thank you, Kathleen, for taking the time to talk to us about this study. For more information, please visit the KTER website at kter.org. Thanks so much to all our listeners. After listening to all the webcasts in this series, please fill out an evaluation. We'll send the link to everyone who registers. I'd also like to join Kathleen in thanking the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living and Rehabilitation Research, NIDLR, for providing funding for this webcast. And on that final note, I'll conclude the webcast. We look forward to your participation in our next event. Thank you.